This tool focuses on looked after children's data, and this came out of an earlier project from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority in partnership with the local digital collaboration unit in what was MHCLG at the time. And it was thinking about how can we work with data in children's services. The discovery process unearthed this way, or developed this way, of building a data quality tool using Python validation code, which you could run the code in your browser, and it kind of passed these three common tests that I talk about a lot with data to insight projects that are really relevant to collaborative data work in local authorities generally. And the three tests are that you hopefully don't need to install anything to get the thing to work, because that's a real barrier for a lot of local authority data people. The second is that you hopefully don't need to share any of your data outside of your network, because that's a big barrier. And the third is that if possible, you don't need to generate any new reporting locally. So those three things we are able to do with a solution, which is a web-based tool running a connector called Pyodide through to Python code. And then we can build Python code into the browser tool, and it will run against your local data without sending any data offsite. So that was the proof of concept. And we've taken that over the last few months into this bigger project to say, OK, the big problem we want to solve is this problem that the way most local authorities validate data at on children looked after is load that data up to the Department for Education's return site and do data validation through that tool. That tool's not available year round. So we said, well, we can build a tool that will do that stuff, and you can use this new technical approach we've developed to do that whenever you want to without any of those constraints. Two big benefits. One, it's a lot easier to fix problems as they occur or closer to when they occur than it is to save up a whole year's worth of problems. So that's great for data teams. The other is that if you fix the data problems when they occur, then those problems aren't manifest in your analysis and insight work throughout the course of the year. So you're making decisions based on better data throughout the year. The other thing we did with this project is that we've built it as a collaborative community. And what we're celebrating today is that we've done that beta work and we've developed a working version of the tool with analysts. So that's those two parts. The tool works, and the other part of it is that we didn't just pay some really clever data people to build the tool for us. We got some experts to sit with us as analysts in local authorities to work through the methodology of doing that as a group. And so the people that have been involved from different local authorities, they've been involved in the design process of this tool. Yeah, that's great, Chris. Yeah, that'd be a good slide to skip to. They've been involved in the design process of the tool. They've been involved in testing it at the far end. And they've also been on the journey of actually coding up these validation rules, 200 plus individual tests of the data that anyone can load into this tool. So they've done that through a mix of video learning, one-to-one sessions, group coding sessions, and we've learned quite a lot about that process and what really works for that kind of approach through the course of this project. So some people on the screen here who've been really instrumental to this, but there's another probably 20 or so people that have chipped in at different points, either doing a bit of the video learning or giving us some feedback on that, or whatever else it might be. And we hope that some of the people in the meeting today are going to join those lists, so to speak, in terms of testing the tool from today with their local data, reporting back to us the problems that we've found, and helping us work through how do we fix those issues as they emerge and make sure this tool works as best it can for every local authority in the country. So that brings us onto a tool demo, which I will gratefully pass across to Desi from Social Finance to deliver. Desi, if you want to introduce yourself as well and say a bit about what how the projects work from your point of view, then please do. And thank you for doing the demo, because it always goes wrong when I do it.
Yeah, hi all, I'm Des. I was sort of leading on the Python side of this project, and with help from Tambe and Chris and Alistair. To access the tool, just go to 903.data2insight.com, and you can click down here to see some notes about the current status of the tool, which rules are currently implemented, and so on. Or just click start here to begin. And yeah, here you can see some more details about how the tool works, some more detailed instructions about guide you through the process, and then the actual data loading box here, which is pretty straightforward. You can drag some files into it or just go to them in the file browser by clicking. This one. So you can add all your 903 CSVs, or just any subset of that, or just one, and just the rules that you have the data for will run. Obviously, if it's the XML, it's all in one thing. So you scroll down, you can pick your collection year. That's just to set the dates that we're comparing, sort of the episode starts and ends to, and all that. Yeah, pick your local authority. We're going to be Barking and Dagenham because they're first in the alphabet. You can pick specific validation rules to run, or just do all of them. And then we can hit validate. This could take a minute or two. Forgot to mention that you can also add the previous year's data, which we'll kind of use for checking the consistency between years and stuff like that. And yeah, then you get to the error display screen, where you see a list of the child IDs here on the left. You have this filter box where you can, search for a particular child, like that, or just show the ones with a given error code found in there. And you can click on one child ID to sort of see a breakdown of their data with the cells affected by errors highlighted in red, and a list of the errors down here below. We are kind of, I think, working on optimizing this screen a bit to be more informative. So yeah, if you have any constructive criticism or feedback on how that should be laid out, don't hesitate to let us know. There's a link to email D2I up here with feedback, which would be much appreciated. Yeah, and then you can also download an error report down here. And these will kind of give you a big table with with a row for each. So you can't see that. For each row in your tables that is affected by an error, you can see the child ID, which tables are affected, which row of the table, obviously which error code it is, so you can look it up, details and the description there, and also some other useful stuff such as like the date of the episode with the error, so you can find it in your database, and yeah, a breakdown of which fields are affected and the values of those. And yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you'll find that a useful tool. I don't know how to stop sharing screen.
While you work that out, can I mention a couple of things there? I think we had these kind of two different work kind of use cases, I suppose, for how you might use this tool that we had in our heads when we were developing it. One was that you would use that front end browser to work through different kinds of errors and browse the children and look at the interface within the browser and see, okay, this is what's going on with this child. I can see it, figure it out. I can then fix that in my local system. The other was that I would run those data outputs to the CSV report and quite often local authorities I've worked in or spoken to, then it's quite common at return time at the end of the year to have a kind of multidisciplinary meeting where you have you as a data professional plus someone from the business support team plus a service lead from the social work teams meet together and say, okay, we've got all these errors. Well, business support, you go and take these ones that are about unique pupil numbers missing. That's your chunk of the CSV. Service lead, all these reviews are missing participation codes. You take those away and get the social workers to fill them in. And then me as data analyst, well, I've got to fix these ones because they look a bit wonky and someone needs to dig into the case management system and fix those. So those are the two different approaches we had in mind. If there are other ways you would like to use this capability, then that's interesting feedback to us as well.
I'm just going to talk briefly a bit more through where the process goes from here. So I think, as we've touched upon throughout, what's quite exciting about this tool is it's been developed with the community, and we're going to continue to iterate and build upon it with the community. So what we're sharing today is just the first iteration, and I think as we touched upon at the moment, it's working with CSV and also your stage 1 rules for 903 validation. I think we've got some very clear priorities for what our V2.0 of the tool is going to look like, and that is going to be expanding to cover all of the stage 2 rules as well, and will also work for XML. We've set end of next week for that. I think it may be sooner than that we actually get the XML functionality in and working, but we should have all the stage 2 rules as well as that by the end of next week. So that should hopefully do everything that you would expect it to do. But I think what we're really keen to get from you is your feedback on how the tool is working. I think we've crowdsourced effectively these rules. We've had analysts coding up the rules and how the validation rules work, and so there may be bugs that come up, and that could be on the front end or in maybe a rule isn't quite validating like you would expect it to. And I think we're going to be really dependent on you to let us know when you see those. We'll then put those into our list of things to fix, and we're going to be continuing to work with the core group of coders who helped us get all of these rules in the first place, to actually be refining and tweaking those rules to make sure this tool works exactly as intended. I think for me, one of the really exciting things here is there's a lot of this tool is now kind of in our hands. It does the same thing as the DFE tool does. Obviously, it's got access. We've got access to it over the course of the whole year. But I think there's also opportunity. How do we make this do what you've always wanted the DFE tool to do? And so I think we may not be able to do everything, but I think what we're really keen to hear your feedback on is how do we improve the UI? Are there other features, other cuts you'd like to see, other things coming out of this? And we'll be working on iterating this tool up until February at least, but I think we'll obviously continue to maintain the tool after that as well. And so we're keen to get any thoughts that you have on how we continue to make this really useful for you. And then finally, I think what's quite exciting here is this is a tool that has enabled us to get Python-based functionality into your browser without you having to upload any data to the internet or to share any data, and therefore go through the lengthy information governance processes that would be involved in, I guess, getting that type of analysis usually, or I guess having to download Python yourself. So I think the other thing that we're really keen to hear from you is if there are other ideas for what would be useful for you. Maybe there's analyses you would like to see done. Maybe there's other cleaners. We're thinking of whether the Syncensus might be a tool that we could potentially build in here. And I think any ideas that you have about things that you would find useful, it would be great to hear those, and that can help us inform our next steps on what we build next. So for that feedback, we've got an email address set up, the datainsight.inquiries@gmail.com. Any general feedback there? I think if you're sending us bugs or any issues you've run into, screenshots would be really helpful there, but obviously avoiding sending any sensitive or personally identifiable data in any screenshots that you do send.
I just want to acknowledge a few people. Local Digital Collaboration Unit within MHCLG, now known as DLUHC. There's a couple of people on the call today from them. Their funding helped make this happen, so really a big thank you to that. We tell this great story all the time about how data to insight is a lightning rod for projects like this, and we can say, oh well, now we've got lots of councils working together through D2I, then it's worth funding stuff like this, but it doesn't work unless there is someone who still wants to fund stuff like this. So thank you for that, and hopefully this is going to work out and seem like it's delivered on the kind of stuff you guys wanted. Thank you very much to Wigan Council. Liz Island's in the call and has helped us, hosted the project, delivered the funding, given us a lot of oversight and kind of feedback throughout the course of the programme. And Jade Cook from Wigan has also been one of our core group of coders. So that's been brilliant. Social finance, the 4 other faces you see on the screen right now, these guys are not just our data science experts, but they've also driven the project and done a great deal of the project management and done it on this project to the point that we still have at point of delivery a decent chunk of money left over in the war chest so that we can respond to feedback effectively, which I think is going to make all the difference between a good tool and a great one. So yeah, good job there, Chris and Desi especially. And last to the names you see on the screen, basically just reiterating that point that the tool is available to any local authority to use, but it's only available to any local authority to use because these people on the screen and a few others who I think I can see a couple of emissions, but we can't get it perfect every time. If you've been involved in the project, then thank you, because your work isn't just going to help your local authority, it's going to help a lot of other people as well. So yeah, thanks very much for being a part of it. With that, then pass across for open for questions for the next 10-15 minutes if anyone has any.
A couple of other big thank yous as well. I mean, one, the original sort of GMCA team, that sort of, I think 3 years ago we put the first bid in for this. So Paul and Phil and Dave in Manchester, and yeah, Liz and Michelle and Wigan. But massive one to you, Alistair, and to Data to Insights. It's having that network of analysts from the analyst community who understand how this works and who can engage people and pick out the right problems that are going to be really meaningful. They're managing that, which has helped this all come along. So yeah, obviously you can't thank yourself, but you deserve some thanks.